Hi and welcome on board in this new video. This is something that I wanted to do for a very long time already while building this Moose framework with all of you, and it is to explain you how to do scripting. This Moose video series is going to be for dummies, people that have no knowledge of Lua, have never built missions, and don't know where to start. What has been learned while building the Moose framework? I have seen, as you know, I've been building the Moose framework over the years now with all of you together, and I've had many people on the Moose community interacting on the chat boxes and the channels. I've had, many people now are using the Moose framework, have been building and using those Moose classes. But still, while creating those videos explaining these classes, I found that although some people have a lot of programming experience, many lack any experience with coding or scripting. Many people have never really done any coding or scripting at all in their lives, and maybe don't even want to go into that. Now, while this is a fact, I think anybody can do scripting. Anybody can code, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a lot of work to do that. The Moose framework has been built to ease the learning curve and to allow you to create quickly, working solutions, working missions with scripting that can do more things than what the mission editor allows you to do. Some people have coding experience, and I think most of the people are on the Moose community already. But many have never used Lua. Lua is new, is something that is unknown. Lua is not a scripting language. It's very powerful, but there is some kind of boundary to get into Lua, the name alone, right? But later when I go into some of the tutorials, you will see that Lua is actually quite easy, and is very easy to understand, and you can very quickly build logic using Lua very easily. Then you have people that have programming experience but never used an object-oriented system. There are not many, but still, I got questions in an area where I really had to go and explain what an object was in a class and so on. So also that is, I think, a very important attention point for the Moose framework, is to explain what object-oriented is about and what it brings to you as additional value, right, while scripting. And I think the fourth category is, I think a lot of people will recognize themselves in this, is that many people are afraid of starting, or have started and have given up, because watching the videos and watching those demonstrations, there's kind of a large boundary to be crossed, and I may not have well explained everything from scratch. So I'm starting with these tutorials here to bring you that awareness again. Please give it a chance. I'm going to start from zero, really people without knowledge, to actually, I will actually start and explain how to build a mission and so on. And then another mistake I think I made while doing the Moose framework is I have not well explained the large term plan. So when I started the Moose framework building, I was actually building what I call a foundation, and that is, I started to build solutions within the Moose framework that will be used in further solutions put in the Moose framework, like a menu system controlling a finite state machine, right? Spawning objects. So although these things were understood and were very useful for many, then I found many questions like, how do I apply this? How do I do this? How do I do that? So I am going to go back into the Moose framework, explain these classes, what they do, give you a direction to the help files and some of the tutorials that are on the YouTube network, so that you can find your way in most of these classes. And then another very important part is, well, I've done some scripting, but it doesn't work. So what do? Do I spam flight control's email box? Do I ask for help to somebody else? But I can't really find the solution of my problem, where to go. So I'll put a lot of attention on this as well in these tutorials, so that you can easily, I wouldn't say easily, but that you while learning, you will have the knowledge how to find the root cause of a problem if it doesn't work, and how to identify this is something that I can fix or this is something that I can't fix. And you're always open to ask for help, but the less questions come, the more time I have to build the framework instead of answering your questions, right? So this is a bit my experience, or the experience of many, I think, also of the users, I think. And many of you will recognize yourself in one of these points. And I decided to do something about it. So I would like you to be able to build fancy missions and harmonizing the mission editor capabilities with scripting. Scripting isn't difficult, it's really very easy. It helps you to do things that you thought were not possible, right? Who's the audience then? Well, the audience is you, who are noob user, we call them, yeah? So people without any programming, without any coding knowledge, who have been using the mission editor probably for quite some time. And I would like you to get the knowledge to improve your mission design using Moose Framework, but it could also be other Lua tools to actually build great missions. Yeah. So what is there to be learned? Well, there's going to be a tutorial how to embed your scripts in the mission editor. I think that's a key point that many people haven't understood yet. And I will demonstrate that, of course, using some of the example missions, but this is really an intention point, I think, to start from. And then I will go into the mission editor, let's say, components and functionalities, and I will explain you many ways of how to embed your scripts using the mission editor in your missions. There are many ways to do that. The next tutorial is going to be about setting up your environment and what options you have on the kind of editors that you can use. Also, you know that I've posted on the YouTube channels some videos how to set up your environments, and I will refer you to those. And any questions that are there, I will try to answer that I've seen that are remaining. So I want you to get a good understanding of the LDT environment, but also if you don't want to use LDT, what can you do using a normal scripting editor or a text editor? Yeah. And then there's going to be a tutorial, and that's going to be the biggest part, I think, of these sessions, is how to program in Lua. I've had now people on the forum without any Lua knowledge at all. I think it's not that difficult, and I think with a couple of sessions you will grasp very quickly what Lua is about and what you can do to make some very easy scripts, and you will be very fast and productive, I think. It's not a rocket science, really. You don't need to be a Lua expert to do some Lua coding, right? The next tutorial will be, I will get into the Moose framework and I will provide you an overview of what Moose is all about and where to find the information. I found that there's many documentation available, but people just don't know it exists, don't know where to find it, don't know how to use it. This is, I think, a key thing that I need to explain as well. And then I'm going to do some tutorials how to quickly build missions using the Moose framework, just to demonstrate that, you know, building missions is not that difficult using the Moose framework at all. This will ease the boundary, right? The learning curve. You will see very quickly, oh yeah, I can do this, oh yeah, I can do that. And I'll try to keep these videos as short as possible. And then while you are learning this, you know, share the best practices. There are social media around. There are people that, you know, can share what they learned to the community, so that a community is being built that shares the knowledge with each other. I think this would be really great to have. And that's already going on for quite a while on the Slack side, but maybe on the Ed forums that could also be improved. So I'll discuss a couple of tricks and suggestions on how to get that into place as well. Look, scripting is fun. Okay, so it really is. There's going to be a new dimension that you will discover when you get into this, and when you find your first successes, you'll find the motivation to actually try new things, and before you know it, you will be building great missions using your scripting, and scripting is really fun to do. It really is, right? Let me get quickly into the Moose framework overview. I'm not going into all of these classes, but I want to give you an awareness of what Moose is all about. So you got your mission editor, right? And you can extend the mission editor with scripts. There is a DCS World Core Scripting API. This is made by Eagle Dynamics and provides you with a couple of components, right? But these components are very low level, are I think quite complete, but you know, for a novice user it isn't so easy to actually start using those. So I've built on top of those layers, and the first layer is I built a core of classes that actually use these components here, but that actually ease or make the creation of certain objects or certain functionality much more easy, much more transparent. And I added a couple of other core classes that I think are missing. I give a few examples: create or manage zones of different types, handle events, schedule in time certain events, create a database of all the components that you have, create finite state machines like long-lasting processes, create points, you know, coordinates, right, and manage them, send messages, menu management, and there are other core classes currently in production like cargo management, and there's going to be many other classes that will appear later. And then using this foundation here, we have some wrapper classes, and wrapper classes are basically wrapping the components that you have here, like group, unit, object, you know, into Moose classes, but there's a lot more functionality added to these classes, and there are certain processing characteristics that have been resolved within these classes that are really difficult to handle here. So here they have been, let's say, hidden, and it provides you a much more user-friendly way, I think, of handling these objects, right? Groups, units, statics, airbases, cargo here, right? So I think this is something you need to look into. I will have to get into the subject a bit more in a later tutorial to talk about these wrapper classes. And then the highest level of the classes designed within the Moose framework are actually about 3 categories. The first category is to do certain functionality. That means certain high-level functions like a missile trainer, a police, an airbase police, so to guard people doing wrong things in an airbase, clean up airbases, do some seat defenses, control the movement of your ground units, spawn objects, formation flying, escorting, detection, and so on. So here are some functionalities that again have been used, or that you can use to actually do very easy a couple of things, right? This is really a high level. This is really a high level category of classes that allow you to do certain functionalities. And then we have 2 other categories which are remaining, which are about tasking and missions and AI orchestration. Tasking and missions is about players, humans. So these kind of classes orchestrate for you missions, goals, achievements, scoring, tasking, right, in different ways. And you'll find, not now, but later, you will find the Moose framework being, you know, added instead of air to air and air to ground. You will also have tasking classes for ground to ground, air to naval, and maybe other categories will follow. Different tasking classes are available to assign a certain task to a player at a certain time, so that he needs to execute that task and he will be informed and so on. there is something about AI orchestration, and this is about controlling the AI, right? Not like you do in the mission editor, but rather as a process. So what we have here are dispatcher classes, which you can easily instantiate, and they will do for you, for example, a GCI cap functionality, or an AFAC functionality, or a guard zone functionality, or area or border, whatever, right? So these will be, let's say, classes that actually do a broader context, like a script, right? A broader script. And then you have within the framework as well certain processes that have been developed, like an intercept process, a battlefield air interdiction process, an artillery process, ship strike and attack, and there are many other examples available. And again, these are a bit similar to the tasks that you see within the mission editor, but as a process, right? So that you can actually control, execute the task, abort the task, do something else, right? Using scripting, you can very quickly control your AI in this way. And this is what the Moose framework is about. So I'm going to work a bit now on some of these classes, these tutorials here, to actually help you and bring you a much better scripting knowledge and allows you to create great missions using the Moose framework. And thank you for this longer video. I will try to keep the next videos a bit shorter. Thank you. Bye bye.